if weights get stuck on the floor, it's usually not a factor of technique. Technique's usually more a factor once the bar gets moving a little bit. That's usually more a factor of
get the fuck up. Simon says, get the fuck up. Throw your hands in the sky.
This question is from Eclipse Show. And excuse me as I'm looking at my notes over here because it was a very specific question. So I'm going to point out some of the specifics within the question. He's 6'5", 350. He just switched to sumo about 15 months ago. He's been making gains pulling sumo, but they're inconsistent. And he's actually wondering a few things. He's wondering if, reading between the lines, if he really should be pulling sumo or conventional based upon his leverages. And he's wondering if the inconsistency is because of technique or some type of weak points. This is kind of one of those cases where, you know, video would be extremely helpful because you can be 6'5", 350 and have a very, very big torso. Or you can be 6'5", 350 and be really lean. So I don't know, you know, I don't know the torso length or the femur length. But going off what I know, and that is you switched from conventional to sumo and you're making gains. So that's telling me that and I don't know how much the lift is. I mean, that's another factor as well. But you're making gains. So as long as you're moving forward and you're getting stronger, you're moving in the right direction. I really can't think of any lifter off the top of my head who, as they grew through weight classes, stayed with the same style of deadlifting. Based upon my torso size, which kind of fell in line with what weight class I was competing in, and I competed in weight classes, keep in mind I started when I was really young, from 181 all the way up to 308. Sometimes sumo was the way to go, sometimes conventional was the way to go. The one thing that I found is when my torso became in the way, and that's the best way I know how to explain it. When I was going to sit down to grab the bar, it felt like I was sitting on my stomach. When it became in the way is when my conventional seemed to always be the best bet for me in the leverages that I have, being 5'11". When it was no longer in the way, where I was leaner, then sumo was always the way to go, because my legs and quads were stronger than my back for a very long time. So as long as you're making gains, that's where you want to stay. So what we're going to do is we're going to attack this inconsistency thing and try to see if I can help you with that. Because you mentioned it either moves or it gets stuck on the floor. I found if weights get stuck on the floor, it's usually not a factor of technique. Technique's usually more a factor once the bar gets moving a little bit. That's usually more a factor of you're just worn out. You know, you're pulling too much. You know, whatever you did the days preceding kind of drained you. The last deadlift session was probably too much. So you're tired. I mean, that's kind of what happens there. Sometimes it can be technique, but usually not, because I'm sure you've done this. I've done it. Almost everybody's done it. If you go up and you try to pull a bar and the fucker's glued to the floor, you end up getting pissed off about it, and you go up and you try it again. And then you end up missing it again, and you try to change something, and it just stays there. It just doesn't go anywhere. And so it's not really, I don't think it's really a weak point area. I think it's more an overall programming problem with that. I can sit here and tell you, try to do deficit deadlifts and all this other kind of stuff, but I really don't think that's the issue. And it would just be bullshitting you to try to make myself sound smarter than what I really am. I think it's an overall, programming thing to where maybe you're pulling too much. What I can suggest you try to do, because 15 months really isn't a long time for a technical change. Some people will tell you that it's more than enough time. With my experience, it's really not. It depends on how you train. So if you're using a linear model or a progressive overload model, block model, or several other models, you just don't have enough volume in there to be able to reinforce any technical changes. So one thing that I can probably recommend with almost certainty, if you started adding some speed pulls with about 50% after your squat training in a sumo stance for 8 to 12 singles. So the weight's really not enough that's going to give you any kind of lower back pump. It's not going to wear you out. It's going to be hard, but it's not going to be super hard. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's going to be like a 5 or a 6. But what that's going to do, it's going to give you 8 to 9, 10. If you work up to 12, you can go that high. 12 opportunities to work your setup and to work your technique with that sumo deadlift without really tapping into your energy and your recovery stores that much. So with that in mind, that's probably 12 more reps or 48 more reps per month than what you're already deadlifting now. So let's just say it's gonna double, if not triple, the number of repetitions that you're doing per month right now over the 50% range, which is going to help kind of reinforce that technique. And it's also going to help you to determine if it really is a weak point or if it is a technical point, because even at the 50%, if you have some reps that feel like you're just tearing that shit off the floor and other ones that feel like you got to grind them up, then you're going to know it's a technical thing. So that's what I would suggest, to go that route, to kind of dig a little bit deeper into what's going on here and get a little bit more diagnostic and a little more, I guess you would call, analytics, to be able to really see for sure what's going on.
Ignorant minds are free 'em. If you tired of the same old every day, you will agree 'em. The most obligated, hard and R-rated, slated to be the best, I must confess the star made it. Somebody even say the song is sexist, it's 'cause I ask the girls to rub on the breasts. Whether you're riding a train or a Lexus, this is for either or rollies, the Timex. This is wicked like Exorcist, this is the joint. You holding up the wall and you're missing the point.